Folks, hope you're okay. I feel duty bound to make my statement on the issue of the Epstein list and the Pat Bondi and Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, to give my thoughts about the situation. It's a very serious and very important issue that is taking place in America, and it has ramifications for the world, and so I feel duty bound to make a statement on it, and I hope that somebody might listen to this and it might be a help or interest to them. Um, I followed these people um, in very detail. I've even written books, although Amazon have taken all my books off recently because of, I think, just sheer prejudice against the work that I was doing. But I'd written on Kash Patel, Pat Bondi, and yeah, on quite a lot of these issues, you know. So and I've followed them in detail, intricate detail. I'm reminded of the Book of Revelation in chapter one, where our Lord comes and He's shining and He says, "I am the Alpha and the Omega," and that chapter shows us that Christ is glorified, Christ is on the throne, that the only person that we can really trust is Christ, that politics is fickle, it changes like the wind. People are on the left, then they move to the right, people on the right, they move to the left. And we can't put our eggs in one basket. We can't trust the political establishment or political leaders. And we can only ultimately trust in Jesus Christ. And that is the lesson that we learned about the situation. Now, let's go into this into detail, and I'll give you my take of what the situation is. Epstein was known to work in espionage, to work with CIA, to work with Mossad, and possibly to work with MI5 and other agencies. He had false passports to like places like Saudi Arabia. So he was well connected with the intel community around the world. Um, he was working with a ring of other people who were involved in espionage, people who were involved in taking over companies and using Epstein to do that. Now, it transpired that he he was involved in child sex crimes, and he was convicted for that. Elaine Maxwell, his lover, was also convicted of that. And Pat Bondi was on record as saying there was a client list of people that went to the island, and she was on record of saying that. Dan Bongino, before he became part of the FBI recently, was on record saying there was a list. And the Trump administration came in, and one of the reasons they came in was the promise to clean up the um, the elite class and to bring justice to people. So, cut to the present, I was dismayed, and I think many people have been dismayed by Pat Bondi's statement that there is nothing to look here, that there was no client list, there was no issues, that Epstein did not kill himself, and I think everybody's been shocked, everybody's been stunned by it. Um, but a couple of things need to be said. Is President Trump's credibility now is severely damaged by this fiasco, by this throwing under the bus the victims who, the many, many, probably hundreds of victims who've been sexually abused by Epstein and his associates. By her doing that, all those victims and their pain and their suffering is thrown under a bus. That's number one. That will affect absolutely severely, 100% will affect the reputation of President Donald Trump. But more severely, what it has done and will continue to do if this continues, it is like an acid showing us that the establishment, whoever gets in, whether Republican, whether Democrat, whether Conservative, or whether Labour, whoever gets in, the establishment is totally 100% corrupt. And that's a dangerous position to be in, because once the people lose the respect for their leaders, then you're going to end in chaos. You're going to end in civil war or chaos, whichever way. When people have lost all credibility, have no credibility, when leaders have no credibility whatsoever with their people, then that people are open to revolution. And America and the world is now even more on a knife edge. We were on a knife edge before, but we're on even more of a knife edge because the elites being so corrupt, it's like a ship adrift in a storm. Who knows where this is going to end up? And that's what I see. I see that the political class in the world today, particularly in the West, is like a ship without a rudder on a stormy sea, and it's going to end in catastrophe. It's not about a cult of personality. It's not about standing with Donald Trump no matter what. It's about honesty and justice. It's about integrity. And there should be justice for those victims. And to say there's nothing to look here, there was no client list, when you already stated the case, when you actually based your election on getting to the bottom of the Epstein issue, and then you're dismissing it. It's treating the MAGA voters as with as having no respect for them whatsoever, but it's treating the victims um, as if they're not important. It's treating the American public as if they're not important, and it's showing a severe cancer within the establishment. There is no justification that the establishment have to keep this list down. Everybody should receive justice. If you renege on your taxes, you're taken to court, and if you don't pay, you go to prison. The higher leaders, the elite leaders, they're very quick to put you in prison, whether you're middle class or working class. But the elites have to also come under the same justice. And because they're not willing to put themselves in the uh, same role as the working class and the middle class, and are not willing to receive justice, then I'm afraid we are heading for um, a serious meltdown in Western civilization. We are heading for multiple civil wars in the West, and we're heading for a total collapse of Western civilization. And this client list is the icing on the cake, is showing you how totally bereft the elites are. They are not willing to listen to the people, and they're gaslighting the people time and time again. And in the end, the people are going to say enough's enough. There will be revolution one day in America. There will be a civil war in America. There will be a civil war in UK. There will be a civil war throughout Europe and in Ireland. And the reason is the elites are continually gaslighting the people. We're not listening to the people that elected them, and they are not willing to face justice like everybody else. That's the beginning of the end. They're already taking away free speech. They're already preparing the ground for more future control in Western society. And this Epstein list, where they say it doesn't exist, is the beginning of the end. It's the end of Western civilization. That's how important it is. Thank you, John McDowell. I think it partially agree with you, Jay. It's important to not let this go and seek justice for the victims. There has to be justice. If there's no justice, we know we have a good idea of some of the people who are on that list. There's Republicans, there are Democrats, there are many, many famous actors, many famous wealthy people on that list that were involved in some very, very dark stuff. On the Epstein Island, there is an underground tunnel with a massive holes, and you can get in by the sea, and they have demonic effigies. There was demonic effigies, statues as you go in, and they were involved in some really, really, really dark, satanic child sexual grooming. It was very dark, and we have a list of people, and we know some of those people, and they won't bring that list out because they know it will collapse the whole of the elite structure, the structure of these elites. It will just destroy billionaires' careers and their lives. It will destroy many actors, many politicians. It will destroy them. So rather than release the list, it's just business as usual. But sad to say, the Trump administration came into power based on one of the promises they made. That's why they supposedly had Pat Bondi at the DOJ, Kash Patel over the FBI, and Dan Bongino. They had these in place because they promised in the election that they would get to the bottom of this Epstein uh, fiasco. But now what they've done is they've just buried. They say they're burying it. It it's a huge disaster for American politics, but it's a huge disaster for world politics because what it's saying is these elites are not accountable to anybody, and there's one law for them and another law for us, meaning you don't pay your taxes, you'll get arrested. Um, Most of the flight logs were leaked and made public, and many people forget we had Epstein's black book. What do you think of the coincidence that Trump was also prez with Epstein was murdered? I have to say they're all in it, bro. Yeah, I totally agree. Um, Sad to say that politics is so corrupting on both sides, and I thought it would have been better for Trump, but he's tainted as well because he's not allowing this now to come to air. And his response um, in the White House recently was disgraceful. It was totally disgraceful when he said, "Are we still on about this guy?" No, no, no. Absolutely disgraceful. Pat Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Trump, you've let the MAGA base down. You've let the American people down, but above all, you've let the victims down. The victims are not getting their justice. It doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire, a billionaire, doesn't matter who you are. If you've sexually groomed children, that's what they were, underage young girls. If you've done that, you need to come then there has to be justice. It's really disappointing. If his friendship with Epstein was innocent, then you think he'd be interested in clearing his name. Amen. I agree 100%. Those who have nothing to fear would just be happy that it would come out and get it all out in the air. But the fact that the gaslighting the American people, the thing is, the sad thing is as well, is the way they're treating the American people as if the American people are stupid. The American people are not stupid. They know they're being gaslighted, and it should not be allowed to stand. And I don't think it will stand. I think the uproar of the American people will not they will not be able to throw this under the bus. It just ain't going to happen because it doesn't matter whether you're left or right. It's not about being left. It's not about being right. It's about justice for the victims. That's what it's all about. So there'll be people on the left, there'll be people on the right. All of them will be saying no. The people on the right, there'll be many people on the right who will say, no, this is not right. We're not just because we support Trump, we're not allowing this to just to go by. Now, I was even shocked. What really shocked me as well is when Ben Shapiro comes out and says there's nothing here. I, I, I mean, to me, what that tells me that he's bought and paid by the IDF because when he said that, I thought that was disgraceful. I have a great respect for Ben Shapiro, but now my respect has gone to zero. When he said there's nothing here to look at, I thought my Gideon, this guy has been bought by the IDF. He's sorry, Mossad. He's been bought by Mossad, or he's been paid by CIA or FBI to say that because the people we're not stupid. Nobody, nobody's stupid here. We've seen it with our own eyes. So if there's no list, and if he didn't commit suicide, if he didn't, if he wasn't killed, and if there's no list, then why did Elaine Maxwell go to prison? Why was Epstein convicted? There's just absolute craziness. Absolute craziness. So, the bottom line why I'm doing this video is the political elites are so corrupt that they don't care what the middle class or the working class people say or think. They are continuing to gaslight the Western government, the Western elites in Western nations, America, UK. It's part of a bigger symptom of the Western elites gaslighting the middle class and the working class, corrupt to the very core where they'll coalesce together to defend paedophilia, no matter what, even if it destroys democracy, even if it destroys justice. And what that will entail is these democracies have lost the foundation of democracy and have become boats that are floating in storm without rudders. And what you're going to see in the next few months and few years ahead, you're going to see civil war in Ireland, civil war in Germany, civil war in France, and civil war in the UK, and then eventually civil war in America. And the reason is because the leaders were so vile and so corrupt, they didn't care about the fact that they were destroying Western civilization. But you get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. Many Americans, many Western people are so enamored with their own lifestyle of shopping and getting on with their life. Many of them are not realizing what's happening to their civilization in the West. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I went, and this is for America as well as other Western nations, Germany, Holland, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. This little story that I'm going to tell you is the story of the collapse of the West. Okay. I was in Piccadilly Gardens a couple of days ago. It's a little park situation with a bit of greenery in Manchester. And as I was sat there, there was quite a few police around. They put a bit of a bar there, which is not normal. It's normally all grass. Anyhow, we went round talking to people, and I noticed that there were many, many Arabs and many Middle Eastern men from Afghanistan, Kurdistan, Syria, Iraq, etc. And these men were all sat in different groups in Piccadilly Gardens, and I went up to them to talk to them, and most of them didn't want to talk to me. Most of them were rude. You could tell that they were illegal asylum seekers. They had nothing else to do but to lie in the sun. And I thought to myself, some of these are going to be jihadists. Some of these are going to be jihadists. And I thought to myself, Manchester is in grave danger because only a few of these people only need to get some weaponry and start shooting up in Manchester, and there's no way it's going to be stopped because even though there were police at Piccadilly Gardens, you go on Market Street, there's hardly any police there. If jihadists wanted to go and massacre people, they could do it very easily in the Market Street. And I worry about it. I worry about, and I believe at some point there's going to be an attack in Manchester. It's wide open for it. They've allowed these immigrants to come in from these Arab countries, Eastern countries, and many of them they do not love our country. I've know that for a fact because I was talking to them, and they were not respectful. Now here's the other point. It was late in the afternoon, and I'd been there all day. It was hot, and I needed a drink before I went home. So I went into a local bar and I got a shandy and I was drinking it, and I noticed in the pub were all white people, and they were all enjoying themselves, talking, eating, and I looked up and I could see one big television playing football and another big television playing tennis, and they were enjoying, and I'm thinking, my giddy aunt. I was thinking of the asylum seekers in Piccadilly Gardens, and I thought the noose is being tightened round your neck. You're enjoying this tennis. You're enjoying this football when you're drinking in this pub. But there's mass immigration going there, and some of those guys, they do not love our country, and they will eventually attack us. And I thought the noose is being tightened round our necks. That's what's happening in America. That's what's happening in France, Germany, Holland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Britain, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. The noose is being tightened around our neck, and the elites are taking away our freedoms bit by bit, scaffolding by scaffolding. Already they're discussing taking away trial by jury in UK to take bit by bit, dismantling our freedoms. And they're not under any obligation to follow the laws. They can be in a global paedophile ring. They don't get any accountability. But you and I, if we say anything on Facebook, like Lucy Connolly, you can be arrested and put in prison. So, in top and bottom of it, we are heading for very, very dark waters in Western civilization. We're heading for imminent moral collapse, and we're heading for civil war. I don't want it, but that's where we're headed. And it's not me saying that. There are lecturers in military history, counterterrorism, that have and eminent intellectuals that have come out and said this recently. I've been saying it since 2018, and I think that's why Amazon have taken all my books down because of my voice. They don't want my voice to be heard. But I was already speaking these things in 2018. But I think that Britain and America and the West is heading for a complete collapse soon, and I believe heading for civil war. Part of it is the moral collapse of the elites that it's one rule for them and one rule for us, and that will not do. People will not stand for it. And the once you have gone down that road, it's a game over. You've lost the plot. I don't think xenophobia and LCJ immigrant neighbours have around the same percentage of assholes and crazy people as the homegrown version. Well, you see, John, on a normal scale, I would agree with you, my friend. On a normal scale, I mean, if you look at the history of America, immigrants have integrated into America and it's been great. We've had immigrants integrate in UK and it's been good. But the problem is, my friend, what you don't realize is, particularly in Europe, the mass immigration has been Islamic from Islamic countries, and it's been young fighting men. So we're having every day, not week, but every day, John. We've had this for many years. 1,000 young men from Islamic countries coming to UK from France a day. 1,000 a day. Ireland is on the verge of civil war right now, John. If you don't believe me, go and look at the videos. France is on the verge of civil war. Germany is on the verge of civil war. And the UK is on the verge of civil war because you can't allow that kind of immigration to go on. People coming into your country who are not assimilating. I've got no gripes against most immigrants at all. But you can't allow this to continue. People who hate your country who then can be manipulated by Islamic extremists. You can't allow it. It's gonna blow up, and it's blowing up everywhere. It's gonna get worse. John, if you want to come on, you can come on if you want to talk about it, brother. But you're probably busy. There's the link. Integration requires a cosmopolitan attitude, amen, where you're willing to create space for the people you are onboarding. Agree? All these problems you are listing could be solved with funding, support systems. No, brother, it can't. You can't. The system is collapsing. The health system is collapsing. People can't see their doctors now in UK like they used to. The hospitals are being flooded. It's not what you're thinking, bro. The whole system, Western systems are collapsing because they can't intake this mass immigration at such a quick high level. So integration is not possible. And secondly, for many of them, and secondly, the ideology, the ideology, bro. I don't think you're aware, or uh, I don't think you're aware of the collapse. Sorry, I don't think you're aware of the ideology of Islamic extremism and the effect that it's going to have, is having, and will have in the future in the West, in America, and in Western countries. You can't just, we have soldiers here, veterans, who are homeless and they can't get a house, they can't get accommodation, yet we get people coming in from France on boats and they get money, they get put in hotel, they get everything. Eventually, people are going to rise up, bro. It's a fact. It's just a reality. I know, I've seen it with my eyes at Piccadilly Gardens. If there is a major Islamic extremist attack in the UK within the next few months, there will be civil war in UK if the elites don't get their act together and stop gaslighting the British people, stop gaslighting the Irish people, stop gaslighting the Germans and the French, and not stop gaslighting the Americans. The fact of the matter is, John, the elites have collapsed. Their morality has gone. They were involved in paedophilia, and now they're saying, no, don't look here, there's nothing to look at. You're spelling disaster because the people underground on the ground are going to rise up and say, well, it's one rule for you and a rule for me. I don't agree with this. They'll rise up. And that's what will happen in America, and it's going to happen in the rest of the West. Because here's the point, John. Are you ready for this? A political solution's not the answer. If your political elites are so corrupt and gaslighting you all the time, politics is not the answer. I don't agree with it, but the people are only left with revolution. And that's what you're going to get in America. You're going to get everywhere. You're going to get revolution because people are going to see politics is not the answer. Hey, Michelle, God bless you. The only other option is a revival. If there's a revival, then there might be hope. If there's a revival in America and a revival in the West of Christianity, it might stop the revolution. When France had their French Revolution, it was stopped in the UK because of John Wesley and George Whitefield, the preachers. They preached, and many were converted, and the revival brought stability in UK. But France was on fire with revolution. The way the world's going with this Pat Bondi saying there's nowhere to look here, the Epstein list is gone, we don't have it, there's no list at all, don't look here, showing you that the elites are so corrupt. Yeah, but in the book of Revelation, when you're going back to Africa, well, if you go on my website, Africa Without Borders, you'll get some idea, and also if you go back, you'll find um, you'll find some information. But the top and bottom of it is we're trying to get Dorcas to come and visit the UK, and I think we'll be working on doing missions to Africa, actually staying in Africa. I stayed there. I stayed there for 7 years, and it completely it nearly broke me because of the corruption there makes ministry very, very, very hard to do. So we're trying to get Dorcas over here. I can't tell you too much, but trying to get her over here, and then we do mission work, go to do African trips to Africa, mission trips to Africa, but also mission trips to other countries as well. Um, Eastern Europe countries and Pakistan and India. I'd love to do those as well. So yeah, we'll be doing African mission if funds come in. But I've been recently attacked. I went to preach. I went to preach at Leek, where John Pilgrim is, and there's a witch there. Um, she's called Megan. She's been organising opposition to John. So we went to support him, and then she got the BBC to come. They filmed it. Then a couple of days later, Amazon took all my books off. So I think it's to do with the witches in Leek, which has severely attacked my finances. Uh, the books were bringing in just a few £100 a month, but it were really helping me to do ministry and stuff. And so it's been a big blow. I was so devastated just today. I was just brokenhearted, and I was brokenhearted today, but I've been able to get going a bit. I put so many hundreds of hours work into those books. Um, so yeah, so what I'm saying is, if people donate, say Jason, Dorcas, here's money to go to Malawi, we'll go. Jason, here's money to go to India, we'll go. But if people don't donate, then I can't do anything really. So yeah, that's true. They're all owned by the larger system. Yeah, 170 books Amazon took off. I'm hoping they put them back. I did send them emails. If they do, great. But they took normally they'll sanction you. They'll 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 allow you to sell your books, but they will stop you from editing, and you can see how much money's coming in. But this one, they took the books down. They took everything down, took my finances down, everything. It was apart from Patreon, which is about £100 a month, which is a great help because sometimes I use that to help people in Ghana. We send it to Ghana people. Um, but the only other income was mainly that £200, £100, sometimes £200. That was a great help for doing mission, but um, that's been taken away from me now. So I don't know if they'll give it me back or not. But I think that's because of the people in Leak who because some of them went to my Amazon and were quoting a book that I've written on street preaching. So I know that they've been on Amazon, and I think it's them who got me cancelled by Amazon. But I've sent an email to Amazon telling them that I feel I've been targeted, and I'm devastated by what they've done. That they said they're going to investigate, but whether they put them back on, I don't know. But the reasons why they took me off were because of a few books titles, which was nothing. It was not enough to take 170 books off and wipe a man's living out. Completely destroyed my hard work. Completely destroyed I was just devastating. I'm okay now, but I was devastated yesterday. Totally devastated. But I think it's the people in Leek. I think because there's a witch there, and she's got it in for John Pilgrim, and she had it in for me because she got me on the BBC. She got the BBC to film me, and I only visited there once. I've not been there like 10 times. I've only been there once. The next thing I know, I'm on the BBC. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Might even be the BBC reporter reporting reporting me to Amazon or whatever, you know. And I did books on. I mean, I don't like her, but I did some on the left. I did Greta Thunberg. I did a few people on the left. Did Martin Luther King. I did a few people, so they can't say, "Oh, you're a right winger" or something like that. Thank you, sister. Thank you. So it's been a devastating time for me, really, the last couple of days. You know, it's been really tough. So yeah, so I don't know what to do. I've got the original manuscripts on my computer, so I don't know what to do with them, how to go forward. But I'm so I'm a bit better this evening, but I was so broken-hearted yesterday uh, that what to do with them in the future, I don't know, you know. But there's 170 odd manuscripts that I have on the computer, so I just got. Oops, there's some little thing there. So yeah, the Book of Revelation. You just turn to the Book of Revelation, chapter 1. Oasis, the band, are at the back at the park here, and I'll be doing some evangelism tomorrow with a group. Um, but Book of Revelation saying, "I am the Alpha," verse 11. "I am the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last. What thou seest, write in a book, and send it unto the seven churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, unto Smyrna, Pergamon, and Thyatira, unto Sardis, unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea." I turned to see the voice that spoke with me, and being turned, I saw seven golden candlesticks. In the midst of the seven candlesticks were like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to his foot, girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hair, sorry, um, were white as like wool, as white as snow, and the eyes were as flames of fire, and his feet like fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand seven stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in the strength. When I saw him, I fell at his feet dead, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, "Fear not, I am the first and the last." So I just want to say that the Son of Man comes and he's shining in all his glory, all his majesty. It's the glorified Christ. And if you actually did some study, if you did a bit of study on those passages, you find a lot of linkage to the Old Testament. So this whiteness, this golden whiteness is reminiscent of Daniel in the book of Daniel, where the Ancient of Day comes and he's full of whiteness and shining. And so it's a picture of deity. It's a picture of the glory of Christ, you know. And why I'm reading that is because the sword of his mouth, what's with the sword of the mouth? It's judgment. The word of God is a two-edged sword, John McDropout. Um, the idea of the sword in the mouth is a picture of the word of God is a two-edged sword. In fact, it mentions that later in the book of Revelation. It mentions that the word is a two-edged sword. So Jesus is coming to judge his people. So, like, he's talking about the churches, the seven churches. The number seven is about fullness. Seven lampstands, seven. The seven spirits of God is fullness, meaning the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So Christ is coming and he's judging the churches in his glory. And Christ is above and he's watching the church and he cares for the church and he judges the church. So in the midst of the collapse of the West, just like the collapse of the West, as the West collapses, you know, I was thinking of Saint Augustine when the West collapsed then and the hordes came in. And I'd encourage you, John McDropout, to read The City of God by Saint Augustine and the background of Saint Augustine and why he wrote that book. But you got these barbarians coming into to Rome, and Saint Augustine wrote the City of God. There is man's city and God's city, and God's city is eternal. And we have to hold on to the fact that Christ is glorified. He's watching the church right now, and he knows what's going on in it. And though there might be a collapse coming of the West, Christ is still concerned about his church. You know, says it says verse 18, I am he that liveth. Great, great. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive and evermore. Amen. So when he says, I am, when he says, I am he that, verse 17, fear not, I am the first and the last. Fear not, I am the first and the last. That's the Old Testament reference to God. God says he's the first and the last in Isaiah. So this is a reference to his deity. All the shining brightness in verse 13, 14, and 15 is a reference to Christ's deity, that he is divine. And he says, fear not, fear not. And things might collapse, but fear not. Great, great. I think you'll enjoy the City of God. And read the biography of St. Augustine and his autobiography. I think because you're interested in philosophy, you'll enjoy the life of St. Augustine and you'll enjoy his autobiography and City of God because he came from a philosophical background, John, you know. Anyhow, write these things which thou hast seen, the things which are, the things which have been hereafter. So which is to write it down. So this is not Chinese whispers. The skeptics say, oh, the Bible's Chinese whispers. No, he was to write it down. And it was to be sent to seven churches, meaning there were copies made. So that debunks Chinese whispers. And then I can debunk it even more. Matthew was a tax collector. Tax collectors wrote notes. So Matthew would have wrote intricate notes of what Jesus said. End of debate when it says Chinese whispers. End of debate. Just a little caveat there. Verse 20, the mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest is my right hand, the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. The 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. The issue is, take this off a bit. The issue is that we've got to keep our eyes on Christ. Got to keep our eyes on Him. We're going to be disappointed by politicians. I'm very disappointed in the Trump administration of what they've done concerning the Epstein files. I'm absolutely gutted, and I think many people are around the world. That it doesn't matter who you are, there has to be justice for the victims, period. And it's just a tragedy that that's not in place. And to gaslight the American people, to gaslight the MAGA people, to gaslight the whole of the world on this issue is insanity upon insanity upon insanity upon insanity. It's insane, and it shows you how insane our world has become. We don't even know what a man is or a woman anymore. That's how insane we've become. We abort children even at birth in the UK now. Just before a baby's to be born, you can have an abortion. It's insanity. We've gone insane. We've got rid of borders. It's insanity. Our justice system has collapsed. It's insanity. Wars that we don't need to be fighting. It's insanity. These wars that, do you know something? Do you know the Second World War? Did you know that before the attack on Pearl Harbor, do you know who trained the Japanese to do attacks like that? Do you know who trained them? Just off beam a little bit, but we'll come back. Do you know who trained them? The British Army, the British Navy, right? But put that aside. That just a little. But here, do you know what the casualty rate was for the Second World War in terms of troops fighting the Nazis? Do you know what the casualty rate was? 5% of the casualties of the Second World War were the American and the British and the Commonwealth. 5%. Do you know who paid the biggest price for the Second World War in terms of casualties? Russia. 95% of the casualties in the Second World War fighting the Germans was the Russians. Operation Barbarossa involved 10 million troops, both on the German and Russian side. It was, if not the biggest military operation in history, right? 95% of the casualties in the Second World War, you can find this out yourself, were from the Russian side, not the American, not the British or the Commonwealth nations. So the insanity that there is a war between Russia and a proxy war between the West is insanity upon insanity upon insanity upon insanity upon insanity upon insanity. Our leaders have lost their mind. They have lost their mind. Totally lost the plot. And what are they aiming to do? They want the war with Russia and Ukraine to continue. You know why? As they flood America, they've stopped a bit now. But as they flood the West with illegal immigrants, that dilutes the nation states and it dilutes the nationalism of each country. They're doing that with Britain. Britain's already been captured. They're doing with that with Germany. Germany's already been captured. France has already been captured. You go to Paris, and Paris is not what it was only a few years ago. Paris is a hellhole. It's literally a hellhole. It's no longer. There are markets that have started by immigrants that are illegal, and you can't recognize Paris that it used to be. It's gone. The same with in Italy, in the main cities in Italy, they've collapsed. They've gone. The culture's gone. Okay, and as they collapse the nation states with mass immigration, they know people are going to rise up. They know people are going to get angry and rise up. So what do next? They want a third world war. What's the third world war? Well, let me tell you something. You know what's happening in UK right now? The British government has done deals with various companies for cameras to be set up all over the UK. But these are no ordinary cameras. These cameras can home in on you and tell you what you're carrying. These cameras are connected to AI, and so if you are going on a train somewhere, they can stop you from doing that. The camera can see you. Tell what AI can stop your bank account, and you can't get on the train. These cameras are being put up right now by companies all across the UK. This is not conspiracy theory. This is a fact, literal hard brute fact. And they've done massive deals with these companies. Why are they doing that? Why are they now setting up these surveillance cameras? They're not ordinary cameras to track cars. These cameras can come home in. They tell you how many people are there. They tell you the background of the people. They tell you what the people are carrying, and then they're connected to AI. So AI then can track you, and then if they don't like what you're doing, they can stop your bank account. They can stop you from traveling, whatever. These are cameras being set up right now in UK. Why? Because when they say there's a third world war, and they're already trying to whip this up, then they can completely stop any opposition. And that's what they want to do. And bring in the credit system and the rest of it. It's not conspiracy, that's what they're trying to do. There's no sense in keeping a war going between Ukraine and Russia or keeping the war going with Israel and Hamas. Why is there a war with Hamas? The Arab why is it that Arab countries don't take in? Have you noticed the Arab countries do not take in the refugees of Gaza because they know the Gaza people are trouble causers. But the issue with Israel and and um, and Gaza, how can you have peace with the people, the Hamas, who say literally there should not be a state of Israel? They want to wipe it off the face of the earth. Why is that group allowed to be there? The Muslim countries allow it there to continue the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas because they want it and the elites want it. Why? Because it makes money. I've not seen it, but it sounds the same. Yeah, I think we're heading for that. We're heading for something big, something big, something big. So the top and bottom of it is we got to look to Christ, um, and you can see the stage being set. It's all there in place. And the top and bottom of it, we've got to keep our eyes on Christ. Hey, folks, it's in UK. It's getting really late. It's nearly 2 in the morning. So how I've continued to go on this long, I have no idea. I didn't think it'd be 2 in the morning. I better get going. Okay, Michelle, thank you very much for coming and for your contribution, and John McDropout. Uh, the I love you, John. We've known each other a long time, and we had some good conversations in the past, my friend. So God bless you, John. Uh, Enemy that predicted the surveillance sort of state we live now 20 years ago. You too, John. You too. Wish all your family, John. Michelle, wish your family well, and hope everybody's okay. So my rant here today is I'm very disheartened by Pat Bondi, Kash Patel, Bongino, President Trump. It's saddened me immensely that they've just stuck a knife in everybody by gaslighting the American and the world by what they've said. But ultimately, what they've done is they've sided with the elites, and it's telling us how deep the corruption is. That if you are an elite involved in paedophilia, you are not accountable to anyone. The ordinary people are accountable to the law, but they're not accountable. But it doesn't end there. That will imbibe the collapse of Western civilization. That's why there was a French Revolution, because the royalty were living in cloud cuckoo land. They were living in their own luxury, in their own world, taking the money off people, enjoying that high life at Versailles Palace in debauchery, and they thought they were immune. But in the end, the people rose up, and it was a horrible time of chaos and slaughter and murder. And that's what we're going to see because of what the elites are doing, gaslighting everybody, not accountable to anybody. The people won't stand for it. But the people are not going to be led well, and when they revolt, it's going to be bloodshed everywhere. It's not just me. It's not me who says that. I'll just show you a little video. Just show you I'm not going crazy. I'll just show you something, and then I'll go. Let me show you something. Right. The professor, over the last few weeks, this professor, uh,
come along the triumph of identity politics, has produced a very profoundly volatile situation. Nativist sentiments are increasingly manifested in a narrative of downgrading that is one of the most powerful causes of civil conflict, according to effectively all of the extant literature.
Hello. Please excuse this brief interruption, but I'd be really grateful if you could please hit the subscribe button.
Discussed amongst anti-status quo communities will be to collapse the major cities through infrastructural attack, causing cascading crises, leading to systemic failure and a period of mass chaos, which they hope to wait out from the relative security of the rural provinces. The plausible effectiveness of this strategy should not be dismissed. It's destructively simple, it's well-reasoned, it's practically relatively straightforward to implement. It's based on established techniques that are well known. It's aimed at targets that are effectively unguarded, and it depends upon the existence of a tenuousness of the urban condition, which urban studies people in urban studies have been talking about for 50 years. So if we were to take, just in order of not in order of preference, but if we were to take, say,
So, Professor David Brett's King's College, London, says civil war is coming. Britain and America's violent future, right? Professor Brett is Professor of War in the Department of War Studies at King College London, where he heads the MA War Studies program. He's also Senior Fellow of the Foreign Policy Research Institute. This guy is an eminent scholar, and he is one of many people today in the United Kingdom who are saying that we're heading for civil war. I said it way before this professor. I said it in 2018 when I wrote a book which Amazon have taken down, and it was called Tommy Robinson and the Coming Civil War. And in that book, I wrote that we're heading for civil war because they're destroying our free speech, and when free speech goes, we'll end up having civil war. That was the thesis. Amazon have taken that book down, but I said it, I called it out in 2018. But this professor is calling it out now. Well, there weren't anybody saying anything about civil war in 2018. I wrote the book about it, and a lot of people bought that book. But now we're getting professors coming out, eminent professor. This guy is one of the most eminent professors. He is advisor to counter-terrorist in UK. But then you've got another one. I'm just showing you that I'm not crazy. I'm just showing you that what I'm saying is not crazy. Now, Dominic Cummings is one of the main intellectuals in British politics, advisor to a number of prime ministers. So this is a heavyweight in the political sphere.
The smartest entrepreneurs don't grind harder. They build systems that work for them while they sleep. Let's be real here. You didn't take...
It's now very common to have discussions outside London with normal people where they talk about coming civil war, about how their area is going to crack up, what they can see around them, and how frightened they are for the future. That's not an abnormal conversation to have now.
It's not just Katie Hopkins who is now warning of civil war. Boris Johnson's former senior government advisor, Dominic Cummings, has issued a chilling warning to the elite class, who he says are completely out of touch in their Westminster bubble. And in fact, the biggest threat to the United Kingdom. And the biggest feeling throughout the country is the idea that society is so close to breakdown that violence, both ethnic and religious, is just around the corner. We'll continue our analysis with Bernie Spofford.
So there you heard it. You heard Dominic Cummings, one of the main architects of Brexit, one of the main advisors to at least 2 prime ministers, and very savvy politician, political thinker. So you had a top professor, you had a top intellectual in British politics. So when I'm speaking, I'm not talking crazy. I'm speaking reality. I'm speaking facts. Okay. So I'm going to go, folks. The main thing is keep in the Word of God, keep close to the Lord, and yeah, no surrender, no surrender, no surrender. Pray for me. I'm still a bit wounded, still a bit hurt with what Amazon have done to me. Still bruised by. I think it's the witches at Leak silencing me. And also because they were getting a lot of traction from the BBC. They were getting a lot of attention. So I think they wanted to stick the knife in me, and I think that's what happened. And I'm still wounded by it. Yeah. But anyhow, so yeah, trust the Lord for provision. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go. Love to you all. May you have a lovely day if you're in America and everybody else. And God bless you. And you never know if ever the chances of them watching this is very, very slim. But to Pat Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, and I don't think the president would ever watch this or ever see this, but you never know. God's watching you, and what you've done, you're going to be judged for it on Judgment Day. So you better speak the truth. You better let justice be done, or you're going to face justice yourself. Good night and take care. Bye.